When the day ends, but the thoughts don't, where do you go with everything that didn't get solved? When the room is quiet, but your mind is loud, who do you turn to? You made it through another day, and that in itself is no small thing. But now, as the night wraps around you like a slow fog, the reality of all that's still unsettled begins to weigh heavily on your chest. Maybe it's the conversation that didn't go how you hoped, or the bills you're not sure how you'll pay, or the ache for connection that lingers no matter how much noise surrounds you. Maybe no one even noticed how hard you are trying today. But here, in the stillness, where performance ends and presence begins, I want to ask you something gentle but important. What if you don't have to carry it all into the night? We're told to be strong, to keep going, to not let others see how tired we really are beneath the surface. But here is a truth many forget. Asterisk, asterisk, God never asked you to carry what only He was meant to hold. Asterisk, asterisk, not the fears, not the regrets, not the endless worries that circle your mind like waves refusing to calm. As the world winds down and your heart beats a little louder in the absence of distraction, maybe this is the moment to consider that rest isn't only physical. It's spiritual, deep, healing. And maybe, just maybe, peace isn't found in getting everything under control, but in letting go of your need to control it all. Dear Lord, take my worries tonight, not because I deserve it, not because I've earned your help, but because I simply can't keep doing this by myself. You don't have to explain your pain to God. You don't need the perfect words. The tear you cried alone in the bathroom today spoke more than hours of conversation ever could. The way your shoulders tensed when that bad news came. The way your chest tightened when you scrolled past pictures of people who looked happier, stronger, freer. He saw it all. Not with judgment, but with compassion, with presence, with unwavering attention. You have His heart, not just when you're praising, but when you're barely holding it together. And tonight, He's waiting, not hurried, not busy, just present, here for you, for this moment. For the sleepless one staring at the ceiling, unsure how to pour out the heartache inside. You don't need to be anyone else right now. Just be. What would happen if you dared to hand it over? Every unspoken thought, the fear you can't admit, even to your closest friend, the memories that replay without mercy, the future that feels like a storm cloud you can't outrun. What would it feel like to release that into God's hands, like dropping weights you were never built to carry? This is not weakness. This is worship. This is wisdom. The strongest thing you could ever do is look up to heaven with tired eyes and simply say, Lord, I surrender. I give you this day. I give you these thoughts. I give you this pain I didn't know how to stop holding. Night is when worry grows the loudest. It echoes through the dark when you don't have anywhere to hide from it. But it is also when God often comes the closest, not because He wasn't there before, but because now you're still enough to notice. The bedroom becomes a sanctuary. The silence becomes sacred. Every heartbeat becomes a reminder that yes, you survived the chaos of today, but more than survival, you can now receive peace. Not borrowed peace, not pretend peace, real peace. The kind that settles in your bones and reminds your soul that you aren't alone. You never were. Sometimes we think we need to finish everything before we can rest. Reply to that last message. Solve that big problem. Calm our thoughts. But what if rest is not the reward, but the remedy? What if it's not something to earn by doing enough, but something to receive simply by stopping? You must let your soul exhale. Even Jesus rested. Even He stepped away to connect with the Father. If the Son of God needed space to lay down, how much more do we? You are not being lazy. You are being obedient when you say tonight, I choose peace even if my problems are not resolved. There is beauty in the simple prayer whispered with honesty. Dear Lord, take my worries tonight. Take them because I don't know where else to put them anymore. Take them because they're getting louder than my hope. Take them because you promised you care. And you do. You care deeply. The God who calms the seas and numbers the stars is the same God who kneels beside soul-shaking thoughts in dark bedrooms, who doesn't need grandeur or eloquence to listen. He hears shaky voices. He answers wordless cries. And so, here you are, in the exact moment you were meant to arrive at. A pause, a breath, a letting go. Doesn't matter if your day was messy or your faith feels small. It just matters that you came, that you're here, that you are willing to whisper help when your voice is tired. There's room in God's peace for your realness. No masks, no pressure, just rest, just surrender. Peace isn't a reward for the perfect. It's a refuge for the broken, the weary, the wondering. Tonight, what matters more than what went wrong is who is still with you. The ache of this moment can be the very place God's peace is born. Every time you choose to trust, to release, to just be still, even for one moment, heaven leans in. God breathes over your bed the same way He breathed creation into being. He says to your soul, let there be peace here. Tonight, extend your hands, even symbolically, and say it again. Dear Lord, my thoughts are many. My heart is tired, but I give them to you now. I don't need to hold what only you can heal. And now, let your breathing slow. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let your spirit stretch out and rest. It's safe now. God is here. He's not waiting for you to get over it. He's ready to walk through it with you, slowly, softly, faithfully. Every breath tonight is a choose again moment. Choose surrender. Choose rest. Choose peace. You are not alone in the dark. And as this part ends, let it not be a conclusion, but a quiet entryway into the arms of a God who holds every thought, every fear, every part of you gently. You've done enough for today. Now let God do what only He can. Watch over you, sustain you, still you, and take your worries in exchange for peace. What if the goal of tonight isn't to feel strong, but to finally stop pretending you are? Maybe strength isn't always in persistence. Sometimes it's found in release. Yes, life demands a lot. People depend on you. Tasks demand your presence. Your mind rarely pauses because something always needs attention. And yet the soul, your soul, was never designed to carry everything alone. That spinning mind, that tight chest, that constant undercurrent of pressure, it is the quiet cry of your spirit asking to be heard, asking to rest. And tonight, the goal is not to finish something, not to solve every problem or gain more insight. The goal is this: to place your weary heart in the hands of a God who never intended you to walk through the darkness by yourself. Imagine that for a moment, that the greatest act of faith at this hour might simply be whispering, God, I don't know how to move forward with this, but I give it to you anyway. That's not surrender from defeat. That's surrender in sacred trust. And trust is powerful. It rewires tired minds. It slows hurried breathing. It reminds your soul you are always meant to be carried. And here is the beautiful thing. Bringing your burdens to God, I send to you a ritual or a task to complete. It becomes the prayer, the rawness of it, the quiet tears you haven't had space to cry all day, the honesty of admitting that despite all your effort, you're not in control. When you say, Dear Lord, take my worries, that sentence becomes the doorway to peace. Not manufactured peace, not temporary peace, but divine intervention that steps in without fanfare and simply says, rest. Tonight, the goal is different than it was during the day. Daytime demands action, analysis, answers. But nighttime offers something holier, alignment, reconnection with the one who knows your end from your beginning, the one who doesn't need you to perform, explain, or strive. Just be with him. That's it. No achievement, no checklist, just communion, just existing in his presence without the armor. Peace is not an upgrade you unlock after hitting a milestone. It's already yours. Yours the moment you stopped holding everything yourself and said, honestly, God, I'm tired. Please take this. And He will. Because He promises to exchange your anxiety for His assurance. Every time. Without fail. Without condition. Think of how many days you've struggled to make sense of your worries. The doubts, the inner fears, the unknowns strangling your thoughts as you smile through another conversation. The world sees strength, but God sees the undercurrent. And He welcomes it. Not to shame you, but to carry it. He doesn't wait for your confidence to return. He moves toward your confusion. And in the stillness of this night, that is where He's reaching now, pulling you gently toward a place where burden becomes blessing, where heaviness breaks open like a seed to sprout something new inside. Healing often doesn't start with grand prayers. It starts with small whispered truths. I'm scared. I'm confused. I feel alone. I don't know what to do. And God's response is always the same. I'm here. This night is more than an ending. It's a divine invitation. From doing to resting, from striving to surrender, from fear to faith, not because fear disappears, but because faith grows bigger alongside it. You don't have to remove your worry to be near God. You bring it. You walk in with it, and He meets you exactly there. That is the kind of relationship He offers, not distant, cold comfort, but the kind of intimacy where your broken sigh is understood as prayer, where your inability to find words is perfectly fine because the Spirit intercedes even in groans too deep for language. Your healing begins in this honesty, that yes, things feel uncertain, and no, you don't have all the answers, but you're choosing stillness anyway. You're making your heart available, even though it's hurting. This is sacred. And if you're wondering, but what if I give it all to Him and still wake up with the same weight? Remember, surrender is a process. Peace sustains surrender. It's not a one-time transaction. It's a rhythm, like breathing. Tonight you let go. Tomorrow you might take it back. But then again tomorrow night, you let go again. And slowly those muscles of faith are strengthened. Not because you never struggle, but because you're learning the practice of trust. It's not about perfection. It's about repetition. Lord, I give you this again because I keep holding it. And His arms are never tired of catching your heart. Never. Tonight's goal isn't to completely clear your mind. It's to shift your attention from the mountain to the Maker, from the wave to the one who walks on water, from fear to Father. When your eyes turn slightly away from your problem and land just long enough on His face, everything recalibrates. Your thoughts don't silence instantly, but His voice grows louder, His nearness more tangible. Your heart softens, your breath deepens, your soul opens. That's the goal. Precious, powerful, hidden in the quiet, receiving peace not from your progress, but from His presence. And maybe, just maybe, in giving God your worries, you start uncovering something deeper. Confidence, not ego, but holy confidence. The knowledge that even when everything feels fragile, you are not forgotten. That you are known fully and loved even more deeply. You are a vessel, not a machine. You were never designed to grind endlessly without pouring out and being refilled. Tonight, you pour out through prayer, and He fills you again with light, with grace, with stillness, with the kind of strength that doesn't perform, it flows. So rest, not because the road ahead is clear, but because the one walking with you knows every turn it will take. Rest, not because your faith is great, but because your Father is. Rest, because your worry has a safe destination now, the very heart of God. Let that be your quiet closing tonight. Let that be your breath as you close your eyes. I don't have to fix this all, Lord. I just have to give it to you, and that is enough. There comes a point in the night, often quietly, often when you least expect it, when you begin to realize that what you were really craving wasn't answers, it was assurance. You didn't need solutions scribbled across the ceiling or signs blinking through the dark. You just needed to feel that you were not alone in it, that someone saw you, heard you, understood why your shoulders have carried what they carried. Tonight is that moment. Right now, this breath, this beat between your worry and your surrender, this silence that wraps around you like a whisper from beyond the veil. You're not alone here, and you never were. You may still have 100 thoughts waiting in line inside your mind, but somewhere deeper, peace has entered. Not as some dramatic flash of light. No, peace almost always enters softly. It doesn't knock. It doesn't demand. It just walks in when your spirit finally lets the gate drop. And then it begins to do what nothing else could. Calm the storm without needing to explain the weather. This is the gift of God's presence. He doesn't have to remove the waves to keep you from drowning. Sometimes He simply holds you above them. Real peace doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It breathes in the middle of whatever you're refacing and steadies you in spite of it. Tonight isn't offering you a fantasy. This isn't escapism. This is sacred reality. That even in a world full of noise, God's voice still speaks in silence. That even with problems unfixed and prayers unanswered, His nearness is no less real. And what if that's enough? Truly, what if that blessed assurance, that divine witness, is the very thing your heart has longed for more than anything else? Maybe what used to be unbearable feels different, not because the load changed, but because you're no longer carrying it without Him. Maybe the knots in your soul are softening, not because everything is resolved, but because He is now part of the dialogue in your chaos. That changes everything. Even when nothing looks different on the outside, everything shifts within. There is a holy kind of rest that happens not when your body sleeps, but when your soul finally believes God is who He says He is, close, able, gentle, and unshaken. You've come so far just by getting here, to this room, to this moment, to this letting go place. Every breath you've breathed tonight in surrender is counted in heaven. Every tear caught, every whisper heard. And in return, peace has arrived. A heart-level calm that doesn't need to shout to be real. It's deep, rooted, unmoved. And it holds you even now like a blanket woven from grace itself, layered with mercy, stitched with stillness. You might not realize this, but in choosing to rest tonight, truly rest, deep in trust, you are doing the most radical form of faith possible. You are saying, God, I trust you more than I trust my fears. You are saying, this situation may not be in my control, but I believe it's in your care. You are saying, I am tired, and that's not failure. It's my truth, and you love me in it. That kind of trust is rare, beautiful, healing, and it moves the heart of God. He delights in being trusted, not because He needs it for His ego, but because He knows what trust does to a tired soul. It revives it, settles it, awakens it not with adrenaline, but with deep certainty. I am held by the one who never sleeps. So ask yourself, what do you need from Him tonight that peace could deliver, even if circumstances don't shift? Maybe it's a soft heart where one has grown cold. Maybe it's comfort where words failed. Maybe it's closure for something left open. Maybe it is nothing at all, just the touch of love to remind you that you are still seen, still enough, still here. Peace can't take away every hard thing, but it absolutely changes how every hard thing is carried. It helps you stop striving in the face of unanswered problems. It reminds your soul that protection is not always God keeping things from you. Sometimes it is Him keeping you through them. And isn't that what your heart is ultimately longing for? Not avoidance of pain, but nearness within it. A God who kneels beside beds that carry weeping souls. A Savior who whispers comfort, not only in cathedrals, but in quiet bedrooms where the only altar is your willingness to be honest. That's where peace lives now, not in perfection, but in divine presence. Not in how good the day was, but in how safe you feel being held tonight. You might still feel weak. That's okay. His strength shows up best in weakness. You might still feel confused. That's okay too. His peace surpasses understanding. And you might even still feel afraid. But fear doesn't disqualify you from rest. It invites you to find refuge. The kind that says, I'm not fine, but I'm found. I'm not sure, but I'm seen. I'm not enough, but I'm loved. And in that space, the soul breathes, stretches, rests. You were made for this. Not to collapse under pressure, but to collapse into peace. Tonight, if you let it, peace will do what striving could never provide. It will reframe your focus. It will remind you whose you are. It will settle you in sacred truth that God is not waiting for an invitation to be near. He's waiting for your hands to stop clenching long enough to reach back. No striving, no scripting. Just surrender. Final. Complete. Healing. Let this moment seal something sacred in you. Let it become the place your heart can return to again and again. Tomorrow night, next week, in a harder season. When you need to remember that when all else was loud, God whispered peace and it was enough. When your breath slows and your soul begins to settle, let this be the memory that fills you. He didn't leave you to carry this. He came to carry you through it. You're not behind. You're not breaking. You haven't failed just because you feel empty. You are in the safest place to be honest, open, humble, and heaven treasures that posture. Let your thoughts unwind. Let your fears dissolve. Let presence take over. The kind that doesn't have to speak to be known. The kind that listens through silence. Let your bed be a sanctuary. Let your pillow hold not just your head, but your prayers. Let tonight be not an escape, but a return to the one who cradles sunsets in his hands and still reaches low enough to catch your burdens. You are near peace now, friend. Let it sink deep into your bones. Let it infiltrate the places you've hidden your thoughts. Let it be what carries you as you drift. Soft, slow, safe. Tonight, the final answer is not a remedy, a resolution, or a result. It's a presence. Dear Lord, you've heard my prayer. You've seen my weariness. You've touched my anxiety. And now I rest, not because the problems are gone, but because you are still God. And you've promised to stay. That is enough. That is always enough. Before you drift fully into sleep, before your eyelids close, and this moment becomes memory, pause with me one last time. Not to analyze, not to fix, just to acknowledge. Acknowledge that you showed up tonight. You came seeking peace, and even if it wasn't packaged in the way you expected, God met you in your weariness. He spoke through stillness. He found you not because you shouted louder than your anxiety, but because you simply whispered, Lord, take my worries. And he listened, and he received. That matters more than you know. Right now, you're holding something beautiful, not tangible, but transformative. The presence of peace. A kind of sacred silence that doesn't need to explain itself. It just lingers, settles, soaks into the unseen corners of the soul. Don't be surprised if you feel lighter and don't know why. That's what happens when you finally stop pretending and start surrendering. That's what happens when Jesus becomes not just the name you pray to, but the presence you rest in. You are not the same person you were at the start of this prayer. Maybe your circumstances haven't changed, but your spirit has. And that, my friend, is what peace does. It changes the inner world, so the outer world doesn't dictate your joy anymore. It reminds your heart that not everything has to make sense for you to be secure, that you don't need all the answers to be anchored. Tonight, God gave you something deeper than clarity. He gave you comfort, and comfort carries you far. If this prayer spoke to a place inside you you've been struggling to name, let that be your prompting to respond. Not for validation, but for connection. Type "I give you my worries" in the comments if you're watching this as a video, not because it's a magic phrase, but because it's a sacred one, a declaration, a confession of trust, a holy sentence that may just echo into someone else's heart who is reading, reminding them they read not alone. Sometimes all it takes is one soul saying, "I'm letting go," and a wave of others follow. Perhaps your confession is the bridge to another person's breakthrough. That's how God moves, quietly, collectively, beautifully. And if you know someone, just one person who needs this kind of peace tonight, who's tossing in their bed with worries they don't have words for, send this to them, not as a solution, but as solidarity. In a world obsessed with noise, we need more sacred whispers. This could be their moment, just like it became yours. A moment of breath, a moment of stillness, a moment when hearts soften and burdens fall into eternal hands. You may not get to see the tears they shed or the peace they finally find, but heaven does. And it all began with sharing light. This space, this voice, this connection, it isn't built on perfection. It's built on presence. And if you're searching for more prayers like this, more words that wrap around your weary places like warm blankets in the cold, consider staying connected. Subscribe not to a brand, but to a rhythm of rest, of healing, of surrender. Let your nightly routine become more than routine. Let it become revival. Let these moments become meetings between you and God, between your fear and His peace, between your worry and His whisper. And the more you return, the more this sacred space will feel like home. And if you don't feel like commenting or sharing tonight, that's okay too. Sometimes the holiest response is silence. Sometimes it's just a sigh that says, "God, you heard me. I believe you're with me." And that's more than enough. So if all you could offer today is a sleeping heart and a tired whisper, heaven still receives that like sacred praise. This is your invitation then. Light your candle again tomorrow. Whisper the words. Breathe slow. Open your hands. This is not the end. This is the renewal. A new way of thinking. A new way of believing. A new way of resting. Peacefully, honestly, fully. So as your eyes begin to close and your soul rests deep, know this: you are not alone. The God who formed the galaxies leans down to listen to your breath. The Prince of Peace still reigns even in the middle of the storms. The Shepherd of your soul watches over your home, your heart, your hope. And when you wake, mercy will be waiting, fresh, steady, sufficient. Sleep well, dear one. You are seen. You are safe. You are covered. Amen.